So I want to show you why Garrett Nussmeier has gotten so rancid as the quarterback at LSU. And before I continue, I want to do two things. I want to issue an apology to Frank
I
Wilson
don't know if it's something necessarily that he did so bad. We just thought that it would be an advantage in the things that Michael could give us.
because I absolutely blasted him in the post-game show. And he also took blame for a big mistake we're about to break down here in just a moment. But number two, let's go on ahead and include the excuse here that this offensive line is the single worst offensive line we have ever had at LSU. You can see Weston Davis is back in a pass set, but his eyes aren't even on 31. He's just looking vertically at something. I don't know what that thing actually is, but watch, boom. He then finally sees 31. 31 looks like Will Anderson and blows this play up. So I wanted to show you that, and Garrett does a good check down here to keep the clock moving. And that's going to be a big thing that we're going to talk about here in this breakdown because Alabama has 0 timeouts, as you can see, 0 timeouts left, and there is roughly a minute left to go here on this third and Krotz Springs. Okay, so
One on me in the second quarter that I would have not, if I could take it back, not give them the ball back.
basically, we allow the clock to run all the way down like we should. And here's the thing Alabama has 0 timeouts left, and we're snapping this football with a minute left to play. So, with us getting the football first to start the second half and us only being down 10-3, we probably want to keep this clock moving and just go into the half 10-3. But Frank Wilson likes to be aggressive, which is why I blasted him because the chances of you converting a third and 11 are very small, especially with the defense dominating you in the first half. So, whatever we want to do, we just don't want to throw an incompletion, right? Even taking a sack here is better than throwing an incompletion. And what makes this even worse, this incompletion, is that up to this point, Garrett Nussmeier was 13 for 14. This is only his second incompletion of the half, and it comes at the worst moment. So Frank took blame for this, but this is where I'm going to defend Frank. I understand it's a lot of talking here, but it's rare when the other team has 0 timeouts. This is a very, very, very rare circumstance. So they rush 3. We start off looking to the right. They have these routes pretty much covered, 4/2. But you can see Garrett works to the backside dig here to Xavier Thomas. His eyes are there. Footwork, I mean, you QB experts, let me know what you think of that footwork. But the base looks good. Rip this bad boy. I mean, this could not, especially on a rush 3, drop 8, this could not have been any more open for Garrett to throw this football. Y'all, if you make this throw and you complete it, not only are you preventing Alabama from getting the football back with 50 seconds, remember, they ended up driving down the field and scoring a touchdown. You could see our defensive breakdown and all the bad defensive calls we had on that drive. But you're probably scoring, right? You still have a timeout left. You're probably getting in field goal range at the very least if you hit this, especially if Xavier catches this, breaks a tackle. He's probably getting to about right here. But Garrett, for some reason, does not rip this. All right, so we dipsy doodle and we just throw the football right into the turf. Okay, now let's give you the end zone copy here. It was a rush 3, drop 8. This is, pretty simple, honestly. And part of the problem with Weston Davis struggling the way that he struggled is that, there's many saying, why didn't Trey Green catch more balls? Well, he was in a lot of chip protections and helping out the offensive tackles. He wasn't able to be the true Trey Green, and Barrett Sharp isn't good. So there you go. But if you're Garrett in this spot, I don't know if this was radioed into him. You have got to let him know as well. We cannot have an incompletion here. I know once again, this is such a rare spot for a team to be in. If Alabama has 1 timeout left, this mistake isn't as bad. But if they have 0 timeouts left, I am telling Garrett, hey, we just don't need this ball to hit the ground. And, well, he sits back here. Protection eventually does break down. We would have rather the sack. Instead, he just throws his football pretty much directly into the turf, and that is the worst possible scenario, and Alabama goes down and scores. All right, we then get into the red zone here. We slide everything to the left, and then we have the running back and the tight end hold things down to the right. The downside of that, obviously, you have Ori Williams in here. He was better than Weston Davis, but he still had some tough moments. The downside of this is that there's no routes being run to the right side to hold the safety. So the safety could see that and then just obviously come over here and just poach anything coming over the middle. You can see Garrett's throwing with some anticipation, and this should have been picked. Okay? So, once again, the design of this isn't great. A lot of that is your offensive line. You're needing to protect, have more people in to protect with your, pass protection not doing well. But we almost get another patented Garrett Nussmeier INT. Okay, once again, this is painful because I love Garrett Nussmeier. All right, I really, really, really do. So this is the final play that we'll break down in this breakdown session here. All right, this is the penalty. So we have a false start here. This is very, very, very strange. You could see on the snap before that Garrett was already predetermining that he was going to do one of these spins here to the left. All right. It's a very, very weird thing to do right before you do it again. Okay, so he does it here, and then we get to the very next snap, and, well, this gets strange. All right, and this is the same play here. So he spins, and it would have been spun directly into a sack there. False start. And before we get to this final play, I do begin to wonder if Garrett, by doing a spin there, predetermined on the next play that he was going to do this Russell Wilson spin pirouette. He wasn't the first ever to do it. I think it might have been Fran Tarkenton, the first ever to do that spin to the left to the blind side. It's always difficult for a rusher to readjust. The only problem is, if that rusher isn't screaming down, he can redirect and you run right into his arms. And that is exactly what Garrett Nussmeier does on this play. So this is difficult. Still, you have the massive almost INT. We can get into the design flaws of that play all we want. And then you have this absolutely ginormous sack where you actually do get really, really, really good protection from your offensive line. Okay, you can see that we do have a tiny pocket. We want you to step up in to this pocket right here and not spin in to a pretty big sack. So before we show you the actual end zone copy of this play, this is how it's supposed to look. Now, once again, it's not quite the same thing. It's not in the red zone, all right? This protection is absolutely immaculate. Deep drop. Step up, help out Will Campbell here, which he does with two hands on the football, and just work this pocket, reset your feet, and then hit Kyron on this dig over, whatever you want to call it, and boom. Okay, look at that. Nasty work. I do love this from Kern. Help your QB up. Love to see that, okay? Now, once again, we get to here. Garrett Nussmeier motions Aaron to the left side. He gets the snap. Works to the left, all right? So it's a three-man rush. Do the same thing you just showed us a minute ago, all right? Step up into the pocket, okay? One thing, if Garrett would have watched actual tape, this Pierre guy, who we said was going to dominate us, and in many ways he did, in many ways he didn't, he is a bull rusher. That is his go-to, right? Just go look at the Tennessee game, all right? So the thing about a bull rusher is you've really got to help your offensive tackle out versus these type of rushers, right? Will was going up against a speed guy, so it is a little bit more difficult because if you're going up against a speed guy, that guy more than likely is flying upfield. If you're going up against a bull rusher, you're having to deal with the rusher and the offensive lineman going into your lap. So it is very difficult to deal with, right? So once again, look at this. Look at this footwork. Let's step up in. All right? We'll even slow it down because this is happening really, really, really fast. Okay? Footwork, as you can see, he gets off his mark because of the rush, but there's still room for you to step up. You can see it's a lot more choppy than what you saw with the Ole Miss tape. It's sealed off well, like you saw with that Ole Miss play from last year. Step up into this, okay, and then hit your deep over. or your deep dig or whatever. And watch what happens. If he's stepping up into it and resetting, boom, this is getting complete to Xavion. It's difficult, and obviously QBs can admit this or not. Lawson had a big red zone INT versus Garrett that might have been intimidating him in this game. Last year, Lawson had that big INT. I think a lot of you remember that play, and there you go. Okay? And it's a big sack, all right? That ball to Xavion could have been there. So it's the same thing, right? A guy that Garrett's thrown the ball to a gazillion times now for 2 years, and, well, that happens. So I want to start off with some love to Alex Atkins, Frank Wilson, and the offensive play calling trust, Tim Rattay, because they made a really good decision with all the different screens. I understand a lot of you were hating the screens over and over and over again, but they did a good job calling a lot of plays where the offensive line really has no bearing on the outcome of it. And I also want to issue a statement that I have no sway on LSU's play calling, but it just happened to be that I did a film study during the day on Saturday of Georgia and Alabama running this very play, and then I tweeted out, hey, LSU, let's run this play, all right? And the reason why this play is so good in particular for LSU is, number one, there's a bunch of zone blocking here to the left, and we're actually running a play to the right. So the offensive line as a whole is actually just a decoy, all right? So even with the play action fake where it's not, and by the way, Barry, on this reverse action got us our biggest run of the game with Harlem Berry. We need to keep doing this. But even though this play action fake isn't even close to Caden Durham, the goal of this play is to throw it to Caden Durham in the flats. Alabama has seen this play 1,000 times because they run it, and they're ready for it, all right? The good thing about this play, though, is there's always someone open on the backside, right? This is literally the most unstoppable play in football, and I'm glad we added it to the playbook. I've been begging for LSU to run more of these kinds of actions where the offensive line is used as a decoy, and they really don't have to execute a single block for the play to work. Also, we get Garrett in a rollout situation where, we're not having him make difficult reads, okay? Throw this. If you don't want to throw this, let's work Nick on the deep over right here. And look, this play design always gets at least 2 people open every single time. Teams have not been able to stop it. And you also have a running option with your QB, and boom, Garrett makes a big throw there. So I wanted to show some love to Alex Atkins because he did a lot of good things in this game. I know a lot of you hated the screens and the quick dropbacks and the rollouts, but this LSU offensive line is so bad, they said, look, we're not going to allow them to cost us this game. And when we actually did have to drop back, they were mostly not great. So if you guys don't mind, please drop a donation. I do think this one is going to get demonetized, and I spent all night pretty much working on this. So this next sequence is a good example of why Garrett Nussmeier is who he is. Okay, so that was a difficult 3rd and 8 conversion right here. But once he gets inside the 30 and into this extended red zone area, he truly begins to crumble. It's crazy to even think about me saying this, but he is the worst red zone quarterback in LSU history, okay? Quick screen here. That's a really good play call, and now we're in the red zone, okay? So a lot of you know what happens after this. Run 2 plays in a row. They don't work, and now it sets up a 3rd and 8. So why is Garrett so bad in the red zone? Well, when he drops back, just traditional dropbacks, he'll throw picks or throw balls that are interceptable. Then also, you don't have the zone read option. You don't have the QB leg option, right? I study Georgia's offense religiously. So many of their conversions in the red zone are just Gunnar Stockton rushing touchdowns. And Gunnar Stockton's probably not even a top 3 runner at the position in the SEC at quarterback. So, Garrett just gives you nothing with his legs. Right here, Diego Pavia's probably picking up a first down with his legs here. Michael Van Buren is stepping up and running and at least making this a manageable 4th down. There's nothing open, okay? You can make a case that this could have been fit in right here to Aaron, your go-to guy. Boom. Yeah, that could be ripped right there, and Garrett doesn't rip it. So he steps up, and now you need to plant and get vertical. We don't want to go at an angle, especially if you're rolling out this way. There's no receivers over here. I can understand if it's over to the left side and there's more receivers in this area. Get as vertical as you can, but you could see he goes 45 here and just basically runs out of bounds. And now we can't go for it. We have to kick a field goal. He is the worst red zone quarterback ever at LSU. And I don't know if it's close. I really, really, really don't know. But, it doesn't matter the play caller. I understand his offensive environment is truly atrocious. But, whew, I'm telling you, I am floored at how bad Garrett has been this year. Okay, and trust me, I was banging the Garrett drum harder than anyone else. I'm not the only one. Okay, a guy that knows 10 times more about football than I ever will has basically said the same thing and has actually won a national championship playing quarterback at LSU. And I don't think that young man wants to be negative at all. But yeah, it's really, really, really painful to watch, and it's time for the Van Buren era. And obviously, there's questions to be answered about what that actually looks like. Does he pick this up if he actually does just get vertical? He doesn't. Let's be fair. He's not. But to run just directly out of bounds like that, ugh. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom. Tonight we're doing Gumbo Night 4. Let's go.